All right, here we go. The four had reached the end of their game. The curtain had been pulled, and the fate of magic came full circle, fully around the globe itself. Using the power of the Zodi Augmentia, they redistributed magic to everyone who desired it. Most were surprised hearing a random voice from within their heads, but as soon as the vast majority recognized it as none other than super celebrity star Juan de la Rivera himself, how could they not trust the voice?
The entire world changed overnight. The only mugglers and nomads around were those who specifically chose to be that way. There will be an event in history known as the Great Magical Reallocation. A new age was born.
Things were a bit rocky at first. Suddenly, people of all ages gained these powers without the formal training of a wizarding school that most members of the wizarding community had during their childhoods. People would need to be immediately trained to master these new abilities, not to mention that one of the first things that ex-muggles would have to be taught was to not cast their magic near critical electrical equipment. That actually was a nightmare for a while.
The ministries would guide the previous Muggle governments to reinvent themselves under the new circumstances. Laws would have to adapt and evolve globally. It had its fair share of growing pains, but overall, the Zodiac champions felt that it was the best for mankind in the end.
Not everyone was happy with the reallocation. Purist members of the wizarding world felt that it destroyed the sanctity of magic. Something that was so special to them was suddenly ripped from their grasp. And there were still prejudices around the world. Many people refused to accept the powers of magic, believing such things were blasphemous or an abomination to humanity. Hate crimes would persist, with the term bastich being used liberally left and right.
Once the great magical reallocation was complete, our heroes decided it would be best to keep the Zodiac Mentia as separate as possible. One returned Zophiacus back to Esmeralda, his mother. One would keep Sagittarius. Albion would hold on to Pisces. Roxana would hold on to Taurus. Luke would continue possessing Gemini and Libra. He would also return Cancer back to Norio, who continues to aid in the efforts to forge a better understanding between mortals and vampires.
As for the rest of the Zodi Augmentia, they were distributed to the various schools around the world, knowing that the schools are still some of the most protective places in the globe. Aquarius would be given to Ilvermorny, Virgo would be sent to Wagadu, Aries to Goldolstores, Capricorn to Mahatokoro, Scorpio to Castello Brushu, and Leo would be given to Hogwarts.
Luke Lionheart. Following fall after the great magical relocation, Luke would return to Hogwarts, where he would work very hard to graduate top of his class. It is during this time he accepts his sexuality, mostly due to deep conversations with Albion. Him and James continue to be good friends after school. Luke will also follow the footsteps of his mother by becoming a curse breaker. Due to his part in the battle against Greyback, it wasn't difficult for him to acquire a job. He excelled at his work, particularly due to his special gifts. This, however, would sometimes get him into trouble with his drastic interrogation methods. He thinks back often to the talks him and Logan had, a mantra which greatly helps him through his life. And of course, he loves his aunts and uncles and would do anything for them. Most importantly, Luke lets go of his feelings towards his father. Though he understands that he will never be Levi, he knows part of him is there. Although he misses his dad, he knows one day he will meet him again, and the thought brings a lot of joy to Luke. The following year, James will invite Luke over to his house for Christmas. By this point, the Potters have gotten to know Luke very well and love him from the start. When James and Luke entered the dining room for Christmas dinner, both Harry and Jenny noticed then holding hands. This was essentially James's way of coming out to his parents. Harry and Jenny don't say a word, but in the end, they smile at their eldest son. Fast forward a few years, James and Luke are now living together with a Creppy named Chewy, and are happily engaged with each other, not with the Creppy.
Oh my god. It's off to dinner. Ayik has just made a beautiful feast, and Luke is helping me wash dishes.
Oh, I hate washing dishes. Auntie Rocks, there's a lot of magic that can do this without us having to hand do this, right?
Yes, but that's less fun, Luke. Look, we're washing dishes and we're spending more time together because it's taking so much longer to do it.
This is torture. This is why we're given Muggles magic, is so that they don't have to do this anymore.
Well, small miracles and all that, and she'll keep stacking dishes. So I'm gonna do that adult thing where I ask you how school is, and you're probably going to say, it's okay, which is what you kids usually do. But how's school?
I became a drug dealer, and now I'm just kidding. School is fine.
Yeah, you're hilarious. I'm glad. I'm glad that school's going well, Luke. And your friend, James Potter, he's going okay.
Oh yeah, he's doing a lot better since the whole saving him from Great Back thing.
Oh yeah, well that's good. That's good. And you're adjusting, getting back into school like it's not, everything that happened. It's not distracting or anything.
It gets kind of distracting when every kid wants to know what happened, and I have to keep telling the same story over and over and over and over. But it's not bad.
Well, that's good at least. And she looks around the kitchen. You've been keeping your nose clean, I hope.
I don't know what that implies. It looks
I think
clean
I think you do. You haven't been using any spells that you probably shouldn't be using,
No, I haven't. Not since the fight.
Okay, good. Because you really shouldn't,
What about you? Are you using spells you're not supposed to?
Oh, every single day. No, I'm kidding. I'm not. No, I actually have hardly touched magic in the last few days. But anyway, that's beside the point. I'm glad everything's okay, Luke. And I want you to know, going forward, if there's anything you want to talk about, we can talk about it. You don't need to hide anything from me, because I'm obviously your favorite auntie and you like me the best, and we talk about things all the time.
Well, I don't know. Al's pretty cool, but she's not my auntie, so you might have a point.
Exactly.
Hey, Rox, you remember, not that long ago, you were like, if I ever wanted to go inside your head, I could, and you wouldn't really care.
No, just kidding. I remember. Yeah. I remember that. I recall that conversation.
Well, all right. If I tell you something, you promise not to tell anybody.
Yes, I promise not to tell anybody.
Okay. Well, a few weeks ago, I might have went inside Uncle Juan's mind, and when I did that, I saw a really nice memory he had with him. Well, I think all you were there and my dad. And I was just wondering if you had any memories that you'd like to share that I could see and not just hear about.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Actually, the last time I saw your dad was a nice time. Your parent, well, this has been before the bar burnt down. Your parents came to visit us. Kind of a little vacation, I guess. Which was hard to find when the war was on.
I can only imagine that'd be tough to find time to do things in the war.
Would you like to see it?
Please.
Okay, well, do your thing. I'll be thinking of it.
Alright, so I go into her mind.
Chester and Levi somehow during the war managed to find some time off. Either he took leave or something like that. I don't know when this would have been during the war, obviously before he died. Roxana hasn't told them this, and she's actually not supposed to do this, but she told them to meet them at the bar, which is not on the rocks yet. This is back when she was just working there. Says meet them during off hours because she's asked permission to get the bar hired out just for them for the evening to have a good time. In reality, they're actually breaking in, but nobody knows about it.
Right. Is it breaking in if you don't know about it?
Exactly. Well, I mean, she knows she's breaking in, but nobody else does.
Oh, then yeah, you're a criminal.
Yeah. So she's basically said like, oh, come meet me there. It'll all be sorted. Shots and drinks. It'll be hype. It'll be lit. Pretty much it.
Heck yeah. That's what I see.
Sure, yeah. Doors open. Doors open. She's in there. Music's blasting. Red Hot Chili Peppers, obviously. But yeah, it's obviously she's in there. Roxana, Chessa, Levi, and Aika having drinks at the bar. He makes a killer feast. They all eat, get super drunk, and then crash back at Aika's house. And there's probably, while Luke is watching this, there's probably one part that sticks out to him the most. And that's talking about, maybe talking about the future with them and their partners, any family they might be wanting to have. And maybe at one point, Roxana even says like, hey, if you were ever going to have kids, what would you name them? And I don't know what.
Oh, yeah.
Levi's answer me what.
Oh, like Luke and Leia, of course.
Yeah. And that would probably be where the memory ends.
Nice. I picture this as the night that they were conceived as well, so.
While they were at Roxana's house, you were conceived.
Yeah, so remember that.
I'm going to get the hose.
You like?
I'm sure Ayuka's cooking acts as both an aphrodisiac and as fertility.
Yeah. Hey, that makes sense. You said that you do that. You're like, wait a second.
Oh no.
And then you were born 9 months later.
How convenient. Yeah, that's the memory. That's the end of it.
So when you come back, when Luke comes back, because I don't think you he just kind of smiles and he's happy. He's seen a few memories now of where he could actually see Levi and stuff and see how much fun he's had with you guys, even with Juan and everything that they had done. Even as mean as Juan may have got over the years, he was always really nice and they had fun with Levi. So it just warms his heart. He's just kind of smiling and he's like just cleaning. And then say, thanks, Rox. That was really nice.
You're welcome. And you can do that whenever you want. As long as you don't turn me into a vegetable or something.
If I mess it up, you may go crazy or something. I don't know.
Tomato. Let's not talk about it.
I'm just kidding. If you're willing, it's actually kind of going there. So.
Oh, right. You're a real little shit sometimes, Luke. You know that, right?
So, what? If I'm gonna have these abilities, why wouldn't I use them? I mean, come on.
Right. Anyway, keep cleaning your dishes. It's past your bedtime.
When she's not looking, he like waves his wand to have it. Start cleaning them.
Roxana Schvetz Iamide. As the Battle of Stonehenge came to a close, Roxana returned to her family and her bar. As the months passed, the Schvetz Iamide family resumed a peaceful life, only disturbed by the occasional drunken brawl. Ayika and Rox often joked they needed to start another war to reinvigorate their calm, lull lives. Nevertheless, they found other ways to keep things exciting. Roxana continued with her love of Muggle music, for example, even going so far as to host several concerts at her bar. It became a popular haunt for both herself and an abundance of locals and tourists visiting the area. The years passed and soon all things grew old. Roxana herself grew old. Her legacy would continue when her son, Imed, who welcomed his children into the world. To Roxana and Ayika's delight, there were several. She would take her duties as a grandmother very seriously, having the kids over whenever she could, spoiling them rotten, as was her way. On one particular evening, herself and Ayika watched as the children play in the backyard. Ayika asked her if she is happy with what's become of her life, if she would change anything. To which Roxana answers, "I have many regrets, Ayika, but I will never regret having known the people I loved most. I can say though, from the bottom of my heart, in this moment, I am truly and utterly happy."
You return to that beautiful garden that your mom took you to back when you were a small child. It has since been restored, thanks to your help, mostly, over the years. And it is almost back to the grandeur that it was back when you were a child. It is once again the festival of Hagigatsuban. Who are you bringing with you, if you're bringing anyone with you to this garden during the festival?
I definitely think I would bring Finn, because I don't think I brought him or showed him that place yet, at least in session.
I'm going to assume he's seeing this for the very first time. And his eyes immediately light up when he sees the place. And he just seems to be in awe at how beautiful and gorgeous this is. And the first thing he says is, this whole place burned down? Really?
Yeah, we've done a lot of work to restore it. It's still has a little work to do, but I'm pretty excited with how much I think I've captured from what my memory serves.
Albion, this is amazing. I can't even imagine how you must feel. Quite an accomplishment.
Al's face is probably like really excited. This is, I think, something, in a long time, this is something that really means a lot for him, and it's a big thing that he's happy to share with Finn. I'm just glad you came today. This means a lot to me.
He'll take hold of your hand and he'll squeeze it. And he says, "I'm a little uneased about this next part, so I'm just gonna let you take the lead."
He'll kind of laugh and say, "Don't worry, it's not so bad." He says, I think you'll enjoy it."
Once again, you see the cherry blossom petals flying around, and it starts to, once again, Pocahontas, Colors of the Wind, fly around and encircling the two of you, letting you know that it is your turn to go to the center pagoda.
He'll grab Finn's hand.
So you'll go over to the shrine. You'll probably ring some bells. You'll kneel down to pray. Finn will just follow suit. He's never done this before, so he will, just awkwardly try to copy what you're doing. And then, once again, you hear the faint buzzing coming towards your direction as you see a small group of dragonflies making their way towards you. And riding on the dragonflies are these little figures. And this time, there are 3 figures. One, you are probably elated to see, is your mother. The other 2 appears to be a boy and a girl who have very similar features. This is Asa and Nico. And as they arrive, their ghostly forms start to grow larger and larger and larger, and the 3 of them appear before you with smiling eyes. Now, your mom is smiling, Nico's smiling. Asa actually has her head down, and her eyes are not looking into your eyes. She's sort of like averting or avoiding your eyes a little bit.
I think the moment Al realizes that it's Nico and Asa with his mom, he's definitely surprised. Mixed emotions, but shocked. He did not expect that. And he will, I think even for a moment, just kind of freeze. If there's a routine that's supposed to be happening, like he probably stops for whatever reason and just kind of stares for a second. But I think a small smile starts to appear on his face as they grow closer.
What's up, my ninjas? He says.
The smile gets really big at this point. Nico, Asa, Mom, what are they doing with you? I did not expect this.
They insisted on coming with this time, she says. Yeah, gotta say, Albion, I kind of like what you've done to the place.
He's still kind of speechless. And he was definitely looking forward to introducing Finn to his mother. So he'll turn and say, well, you surprised me, but I don't think for Asa and Nico there's any introductions needed. But Mom, this is Finn, someone very special to me that I was looking forward to you meeting. Finn, this is my mother.
Finn nervously takes a step towards them, and he kind of awkwardly says, hi, and then he bows, like very quickly. Like he starts to wave, and then he bows, and then your mother will bow back and says, Finn, it's very nice to meet you. He says, it's nice to meet you as well. You are even more beautiful than Al said in his stories. She will smile at it a little bit, and I think Nico is going to say, well, that's one of the nice things about the afterlife. You don't grow fat up there, he says.
Albion's laughing at that. A corner of his gaze is watching Asa, though, to see if she's acknowledging them at this point, or if she still has her head down. Again, all those emotions are just kind of swirling in his chest.
Asa will finally look up to the 2 of you collectively, and I think Finn kind of catches that she feels a little awkward. So Finn actually will speak up and say, Asa, it's nice to see you again. And and Asa will again bow towards Finn and say, it is nice to see you as well, Finn. You look good. Thanks, he says.
I think Al's just kind of nervously, like, you know, he doesn't know what to do. Like, he's very excited, and he'll just say, I would have prepared for this had I known. It is so great to see you all, he says. I hope you didn't break any rules to make this happen, Mom, he'll say as he smiles.
Sure, Mom shakes her head and she says, no. It is that one time of the year where we can return and be together, even if it's a very short time. How are you doing, my son? I hope that throughout the years you feel at least somewhat proud of how you've blossomed and grown.
Yeah, he says, I think I'm doing well. A lot has changed even since the last time we were able to talk. A lot of good and a lot of not so good, but we're doing well. Finn and I, we're spending a lot of time traveling the world, and he'll just kind of nod, and he gets a little bit of a sad look on his face, and he'll say, I wish all of you could still be here to see the things that are happening, the things that have changed for the better.
I heard, she says. I am hoping that the decision that you made will bring about understanding and peace throughout all living things. I don't think it will be an easy road, but that is the road that is the path that you are all setting on, so good luck.
Thank you, he'll say. And I think at this point, Al will look at Asa, and he'll say, you know, Asa, I'm particularly glad you came today, he says. I'm honestly a little surprised as well with the way things kind of ended between us. I feel like we didn't get a chance to resolve some of our differences.
What's done is done. It is just part of life. Some people have a chance to redeem themselves for things while they are still alive, whereas others may just miss the cut. That is something that I've had to, I guess, live with is not the correct term at this point, but it is something that I just needed to accept and attempt to move forward from. I'm hoping that you can do the same thing.
He's kind of nodding his head, and he'll say, I never thought I'd get this chance, but I do want to apologize for some of the things I said in some of our last moments that I've always wished I had a chance to go back and redo, but the most I can offer now is my apology.
As far as I'm concerned, you have nothing to apologize for, Albikun. I've been wanting to say I'm sorry to you for a very long time. I'm sorry that I hurt you. I'm sorry that I did things that completely destroyed our trust in each other and our friendship. There are things that I believe deep in my heart I was doing for the greater good, and I just wish that things ended differently. But I'm happy though. I'm happy that I came. I needed to be here.
He's got a soft smile on his face, and he'll say, if it helps you at all, he says, just know that I am happy, he says, and I know that's what you always wanted. for me. Even if we didn't agree on the choices that each other made, I know now that in our friendship, that's what you wanted. And I'm happy.
That is ultimately what I wanted. And that's something that you did for yourself. I had no hand in that.
He'll look between the two of them now and his mother, and he'll say, you know, I could have really used the two of you the day I decided to marry this guy. He says, Roxy, she was a great woman of honor, but she was drunk by the time the speeches happened. And I think both of you two, and Mom, you two would have made a great addition to that day, he says. But I know you were there in spirit.
Well, she says we look forward to seeing the two of you again in the years to come.
Yeah, I mean, if we can make this a routine, he says, I'd love to see the three of you each year, and Finn and I can keep you informed on what's new, he says.
Oh, maybe you can bring some of the other gang with you. It'd be great to see them.
Yes, he says, I definitely will. I had mixed feelings about today with it being the first time a lot of people would be seeing the garden restored, but I think a lot of them would like to come and see you guys. And if you said you're not breaking any rules, like Nico or Asa, maybe one of you can find Levi and bring him along next time. Like, it can just be a party.
We'll see what we can do, your mother says. As you said, there are rules, but we'll see what we can do. Ooh, Albion, Nico says. Do you know Quidditch up there is awesome? And do you know who is like one of the top Quidditch players? And someone that I have made it my goal in the afterlife to completely crush.
Levi?
No, not Levi.
Oh, okay. Who?
Gandhi.
What?
He's an amazing Quidditch player up there. Oh my goodness.
Leave it to you, Nico.
One of these days I'll show you.
He says, I can't wait. He says, I just hope once I join you guys someday that, you know, maybe in the afterlife I'll be an amazing Quidditch player too.
Well, good. If you're wondering how Levi's doing, well, I heard he's a pretty decent tennis player. Jesus says so himself.
Tennis? Huh. I guess that is more along the lines of a Muggle sport. I can't see Levi playing tennis though. Huh. Well, he says, I love you all. And I miss you all. And it was great to see you. Albion Murmovich. Albion continues his work in politics, mainly in the area of diplomacy. He continues to gain a deep reputation and gets pulled into the profession even more. He would do his best to utilize his Zodiaugmentia to fulfill his ministry duties, while not sacrificing the time spent with Finn. Eventually, Albion would retire from politics, earlier than most, to pursue a special project, for he had been thinking about for years. More on that later. Albion would put a big effort into getting to know Astera more and trying to create a bond there if she was open to it. He would also continue to stay in touch with the rest of the Zodiac champions, attempting to do his best to mold Luke into a wizard who uses his strong mind magic for good. Overall, Albion just really craves a simple life. It can be a struggle to balance that simple life of traveling the world with Finn, but also using his natural leadership abilities to do good in the world.
As the years go by, you are going to be a very successful movie star. And it's very difficult for you to not be, because you literally spoke to every living being around the world in their heads. So like you said, it's like Tom Cruise just suddenly talks to everyone and says, hey, do you want magic? So everyone knows who you are. And for better or for worse, I mean, that's a double-edged sword for everybody who knows who you are. And you're going to have finally the grand red carpet premiere of probably your biggest, we're going to say this is probably your proudest, happiest involvement movie of your life. What I don't know if you want to describe what this movie is.
You're Juan Solo. You're Juan Solo in the new Star
I'm
Wars.
Juan Solo. I'm the long lost nephew of Juan Solo, and I'm gonna
Wow.
fight. Yeah, fuck it. I'm Juan Solo.
Okay.
It's gonna be fucking hilarious.
This is a future episode of Star Wars, and I'm gonna say that this is critically acclaimed. Like, of course, people are gonna butt heads and argue, nah, that's not the best one, But there'll be a lot of people like, I don't know, this is pretty up there, it's successful. Like, it's very well critically acclaimed. And Juan Solo is the star, the main protagonist of this new trilogy, whenever the future, episode 15 or whatever. But, so you're on the red carpet, you've got, the paparazzi, they're snapping photos, and I'm going to say that Ximena and Austera are in attendance there. Austera is in a beautiful black gown with purple sequins. She still is wearing her tentacle earrings that she always does. And Ximena is also wearing a fancy dress as well. And she's smiling. Ximena is actually beaming and smiling. And all of these famous celebrities are around as well who are part of the movie, and you're getting interviewed left and right. And I'm gonna say that at some point when things quiet down a little bit, obviously there's still gonna be people, as they always will be, who are going to be doing the "Hey, Cadabra" at you. But I think that those people will be few in between, since right now Juan Solo is the hot character that you're playing at the moment. And I'm gonna say that there's this that middle-aged woman, maybe she's in her 40s, and she is dressed in nice clothing, but not like anything super fancy or expensive. But she approaches you, and she says, "Excuse me, Mr. De La Rivera, I know you're very busy, but I just wanted a moment just to tell you something if you have time."
He will look at this and the carpet, flower, and he'll be like, "Sure, I have a few minutes. Nice to meet you."
Mr. De La Rivera, I just wanted to say thank you for everything you've done. Obviously, you've done so well with your career, but I hope you understand how much you've changed everybody's lives for the better.
I did nothing. I was just a messenger.
She says, I'm just saying, when you came to us and asked us if we wanted to change, evolve, whatever have you, to have magic, it was such a precious gift. My son, he had cancer, and he was dying. And I prayed every day that we'd be able to find a cure, and that I would be able to help him. And a few days after I said yes to your proposal for magic, that was the first thing in my mind I said I would do. I would try to find some way to make him feel better, and it was a miracle. He's right over there, and she's pointing at her son, and her son is like with older gentleman who's, you can probably presume, is his dad, and he's right now seems to be getting an autograph from one of the female characters in the movie, and he seems to be very excited. And she says, "I know that you said that you're just a messenger, but you still helped us during the war, you helped us during the Greyback conflict, and even now you're still putting so much smile and joy in people's lives. That's not nothing, Mr. De La Rivera." That is very much something.
I appreciate it. You like look around and be like, fuck it. Take like 3 VIP tickets he has with himself because he's the fucking movie star and who can says nothing to him, and he will give them to her. Like, you can join us in the first screening if you want.
Oh my... really? Oh my good... Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope everything goes well.
She'll take both her hands and she will like shake your hand with both of her hands very warmly and says, enjoy the rest of your evening, Mr. Rivera. You deserve it.
Thank you. You too.
As she steps away, Ximena, who was like just within hearing distance, she sort of approaches you and she says, I know that you've been hurting a lot throughout the years, Dad, but I hope that you at least come to accept that when you finally do pass on, no matter what happens to you in the afterlife, this is what people will remember you for. This is how you will continue living on, even after your death.
Thank you, see. He will like grab her in a hug. A small, tired smile appears on his face, like everything he's gone through, like his whole life going through his eyes, and those words, like, this is how everyone's going to remember you. It makes him so happy at this moment. He will just hug her, and actually a few tears will start appearing in his eyes, but he will quickly like.
Austera will then chime in. So you have Ximena, you have her on one arm,
yeah,
and Austera will come into the other arm, and she will playfully say, speaking of things that people will always remember you by, so word on the street says that they're trying to have a revival of Morpheus and Me. And my question is, Juan, A, would you do it? And B, if you don't do it, who would you want playing Morpheus instead?
Oh, this is such a difficult question. Such a difficult question. So, a revival.
Seems to be the hot thing over the last couple of several years. Everybody just keeps rebooting all of these old sitcoms, you know?
Yeah, they keep on doing that, right? A new Morpheus. Okay, as long as my partner in the show comes back, fuck it, I'll do it. Let's give the fans what they want.
Ximena says, you mean Wanda, right?
Who else did I mean?
She says yes.
I'm gonna say that Wanda, the woman who plays Wanda, you actually like pulled some strings, and she's actually in the Star Wars movie as well, which is probably another reason why a lot of people came to see the movie, is to see you both in the project together again.
I mean, like, hey, Jordan,
I
wanna do the
was
revival?
Yeah, sure, Juan. Why not?
Hell yeah, let's go!
All right, and you guys will go in for the first screening of your Star Wars movie, and I guess that's a good way to end that scene.
Hell yeah, Morpheus and Me, the revival.
One day
I'm
we
so
have
happy.
to have a spin-off. Just a one episode, one day, just all of us get together and have a spin-off of Wanda.
Juan de la Rivera. There is a cost for casting the mass killing curse. Each time you do, a piece of you deteriorates. And Juan utilized it rather liberally during the fight against Great. Perhaps this is part of the reason why his behavior and personality had become warped over the years. Every now and then, he'll wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, feeling empty and depressed, There will be moments when he's surrounded by good friends and family, and he'll still feel alone. This is something he will unfortunately have to deal with for the rest of his life. That all being said, he still has the choice to either succumb to these dark feelings or fight back. After a life of keeping secrets and thinking he didn't deserve happiness, it was time for Juan to change. Juan has been afraid all his life of his stepdad, of the fact that he never knew his dad, of being alone, of not getting forgiveness for his sins. But after the battle, and after feeling the force of all the living people on the planet, he finally thought, maybe I deserve to be happy too. So, Juan did what he did best. He acted. But this time not to hide his feelings, but to show himself to the world. His film career would continue to flourish. Some movies would perform better at the box office than others, but overall, he would be beloved in the hearts of his fans everywhere. However, he did paint a giant target on himself by those who were not particularly thrilled by his involvement in the Great Magical Reallocation. Fortunately, all his spy training kept him on his toes from facing any real trouble he couldn't handle. Besides, the world will be clamoring for a revival of Morpheus and Me by this time it hits the 20th anniversary. Juan opens himself up to his friends and tries to work his anger issues. But above all, Juan gives himself the chance to finally have a family. It was hard. But how is a relationship between a damaged parent and a ghost daughter ever not going to be hard? Ximena is grateful to have the chance to bond with her newly found father. However Juan feels about it, she genuinely feels that her sacrifice was worth it. In her body, she would continue to live as normally as she could, feeling the emotions as any human would. But this would pale in comparison to the moments she shares with her father. If anything can save Juan's souls, it's love. And Ximena may very well be the key to his ultimate salvation, if he allows himself to.
It was so good. Oh my god. I loved it.
Clef, you have a knack for just reading very cinematically.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, so this will be many years later, if you allow it, Hart.
Okay.
Chessa has passed away, and this is going to be Chessa and Levi seeing each other again after.
Oh, that's so nice.
So,
I'm already crying.
Chessa, she sees a light. She sees a light at the end of a tunnel. It's peaceful. She's not in pain or anything. Everything's fine. She moves towards the light. As she gets closer and closer to this bright white light, she realizes it's Levi is there, and he's just like, whoa! Like he's the bright light, a bright white light. And then when she gets to heaven, where I assume she makes it,
I assume as well.
yeah, she's a good person. He's there to greet her at the gates, or I'm sorry, I'm not super religious. Meet her at the
Yeah.
gates, I'm sorry. And he's
Gates
there.
of Heaven, yeah.
Yes.
They say that St. Peter is there, but maybe you took over for him. You're like, hey, can you do a guy a favor? I'm expecting somebody.
Yeah, I'm expecting someone here. Can you go take like a 15-minute break or something?
And then like for the next hour, you're like, yeah, you can go in. Yeah. You can go in.
Yeah, come on.
Just come on in, guys. Just come on in. I'm waiting for someone important. Come on. Keep it up. Keep moving. I'm sure Peter will talk to you later about that.
Yeah. We'll sort all that out later. No, I'm saying we'll sort all that out. It's like, it says here 1,000 people just made it to heaven in an hour. Yep. Keep going.
Yeah. Levi's like, see, I'm efficient.
I am, yeah. We got check names. Who got check names? Get in there.
Anyway, go ahead. So she will approach and I would imagine glides towards the gates, and she just has this very large beaming smile on her face, as if to say, I thought I would find you here.
Hey, you know, I've been waiting for you a long time. You sure know how to keep a man waiting.
She said, I'm sorry, honey. You left me with 2 kids to keep an eye on.
Fair enough. And hey, you know, I've been keeping an eye on you guys. You've been doing a great job down there with them.
Thank you, she says. You've been helping me throughout it all. Thank you.
I've been trying, you know, and God, he just like hugs her really tight. He's like, oh my, I've missed you so much. You don't even understand.
She hugs you very tightly, and I would say that tears start to well up in her eyes a little bit, tears of joy, and you know, you just have this big embrace. And during that moment, I would say like there are a few passers-by going through the gates, and they just kind of stop and pause, and they're just like watching this couple, almost like if you were at a train station and you saw, you know, like a soldier coming home, like meeting with his family or his wife, like for the first time after a war or something, and embracing. So it's very similar to that. And you can probably hear a chorus of angels, you know, singing, and both of your robes are bright gold. And everything just stops. Not that time is really much of a thing up there, but it still feels different when the two of you are together versus prior to that.
Oh, that's a sweet. This is a sweet moment here.
She will finally pull away, and she says, "So, tennis."
You hear about that? I'm like one of the greatest tennis players that ever existed. Who would have known?
She says, "Well, I'm not too surprised. I mean, I do consider myself to be a perfectionist, so I'm glad that some of that must have rubbed off on you, sweetheart."
A lot of, you know, I take a lot of things that you've taught me over the years and use that up here. You know, I also saw you, you know, we never got married or anything, but in my heart we were married. You never, you know, found another man or anything.
She sort of shakes her head. Other than Luke? No, I haven't.
I wouldn't have been mad if you would have, but I ain't gonna say.
She chuckles a little bit.
But I'm pretty happy that, you know, you did it, because, you know, I'd have to beat him up when he got up here, you know what I'm saying? Because there's only gonna be one of us here.
No, Levi, nobody ever was able to replace you. And nobody ever will.
You know, I said, Marilyn Monroe's been trying to get at me since I got up here, Jessa, and I had to keep telling her no. You know, I got the most beautiful woman back waiting for me.
She sort of like looks at you quickly and says, "Oh, Marilyn Monroe. I mean, I wouldn't blame you." Although I guess it's too late now then.
Oh yeah, because I waited for you all this time. I mean, I'm not giving you up now, so.
You know, she says, your kids, they keep asking about you all the time, and I'm sorry, Levi. I don't think that I could ever describe you with the full gusto that you'd be able to describe yourself. I don't think I would ever be able to do you justice.
Well, yeah, you know, old Levi here can be a bit much sometimes. I'll get to meet them someday too. Hopefully not anytime soon. Hopefully they take their time before coming up here. But
yes, she says, hopefully not too much, not anytime soon. She sort of like starts to caress your back a little bit and says, "We didn't really give ourselves that much time, to be together, just the two of us, so the kids can wait."
Oh,
she says,
yeah.
smiling.
Yeah, they can wait. You know what I'm saying? I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. Yeah. Chessa, this may be the happiest day of my undead life.
You know what would make me happier?
What's that?
The Spice Girls are up here, right? When's their next concert?
Oh, right now. You want to go watch them?
Watch them? Hey, I was thinking you and I could both join them on stage.
Oh,
I mean, just like old times.
me and Baby Spice, we're totally cool right now. So I can get us on stage. Don't even worry about it.
All right. It's a date.
I've been waiting to go on a date with you for what feels like forever. Like, he'll hold his hand and start walking with her and be like, "So tell me, like, I heard there's new Star Wars movies that came out." They're good. Like, everybody keeps talking about these Star Wars. And I'm like, oh my God, I miss it. I didn't think they would ever make anymore.
Can't you see? Okay, heaven is not that cool if you can't see more than movies in there.
Hey, no, Disney will come after heaven.
Disney will sue
heaven.
You can't fight Disney. Imagine God being there. I am all powerful. No
He's
one.
like, all right.
And Disney.
All right.
And Mickey Mouse is there. And it's like, but that thing.
That's exactly what
fear
happened.
that.
Yeah, God doesn't want to get sued by all powerful Disney. So
Yes.
and then
get a Netflix subscription in heaven. Wait a few years until they. No, Disney Plus.
yeah, he'll just hold his hand and walk her to the concert, and they will.
I just want to say
ever after forever.
That was my favorite thing ever.
I've been waiting for that. I've been waiting for that forever. I was like, look, when Chester finally does pass away, Levi's gonna be waiting there with open arms. And now a lot of people made their way into heaven too. So.
Well done, guys. It was lovely. Oh my God, you're crying.
Thank you, Hark. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
For Chessa Jing. As you can imagine, Chessa became a world-renowned curse breaker, which is practically important now that the number of people who have the potential of casting curses had increased significantly with the great magic relocation. Chessa never gets married, but this honestly never becomes an issue. Between her career, her children, and her love for Levi, Chessa generally feels 100% fulfilled in her life. She can feel his presence every morning throughout the day, and as she tucks herself in at night, consistently cheering her on and pushing her to make him proud. They may have lost Levi physically, but as Chessa said, they could always find him again in the eyes of those who knew and loved him.
Finn Murmovich. Through Finn's craftsmanship and Albion's expertise of magical plants, the two experiment with perfecting the idea of using magical plant wand cores instead of magical beast wand cores. In addition, Finn would go down in history as the wizard who invented a new sport that would rival Quidditch, Magiball. A sport that was similar to basketball, but you manipulated the ball with magic. The sport catches on worldwide and becomes super popular, especially to the next generation of young wizards and witches. The Omni told that he received from Nathan would prove useful throughout the years. Albion manages to come up with a substance similar to Omnigel using a solution from various magical plants. Finn's marriage with Albion continues to grow strong and solid through the years. Plants need water to live, but they also need love to flourish.
This is so good. I can't get over it. Aika Ayamide. Aika becomes a well-renowned private investigator. His ability to suss out secrets proved to be a major boon in his career. After having that conversation with Roxana, Aika eventually does reach out to his sister Delphina. He never becomes 100% sold on the idea that vampirism isn't another form of cheating death, but he is willing to agree to disagree enough to begin establishing some sort of new relationship with his sister all the same. Yes. Meanwhile, Mother Aimide will pass on the secret to her chicken pastille recipe to her great-grandchildren. Yay!
Hell yeah.
Naila Bedinger. Naila would continue becoming a very popular talk show host for her talk show entitled Whiz Up. Her segments would help educate and acclimate former muggles into the world of magic. She and her sister would continue to grow closer over the years. Her sister, Anira, would guest on her show often to share her experiences of converting from a squib to a fully magical witch. But despite her new powers, this does not stop Anira from continuing her intellectual pursuits of science and chemistry. She would try to research ways to combine magic with science to try to improve both fields. It is very important to her that mankind never forgets the value of science, despite the global introduction of magic.
Rodney Bettinger. Naila's husband, Rodney Bettinger, would continue providing music for her show. He even manages to sell a good number of singles. Eventually, the two would have 3 children, 1 boy, followed by 2 girls. While Rodney truly enjoyed possessing the power of the Zodiac Amentia during the fight against Fenrir Greyback, he was always a humble person who never sought power. He was perfectly content with the knowledge that his magic was able to help Down take a dangerous dark wizard. He preferred a chill life with his family and only harnessed the powers of the Zodiac Amentia again when he was asked.
Tobias Petrov. Toby continues becoming a best-selling author, creating tales that will tantalize people of all ages. As a side effect, him and Albion would continue researching ways to reverse the effects of the Obliviate spell safely to those who fell victim to its ill side effects. His relationship with Roxana never becomes fully restored to how it used to be when they were classmates. However, they gradually do form an acquaintance and later some semblance of an actual friendship. Toby seems to enjoy bouncing off ideas with Roxana on his latest manuscripts. It isn't perfect and they may not be total BFFs, but at the end of the day, he is Roxy's friend and that's good enough for her. Oh.
Stop crying, Jordan. Get into the game. Get into the
So
mental
beautiful.
state. Let's do this.
Okay.
Tritessa Petra. Tritessa becomes an award-winning dragon breeder and would eventually open a Jurassic Park-like island of dragons in Brazil. It would be a place where dragons would roam free around their natural habitat, allowing guests to observe and learn all about these magnificent beasts. It's a guaranteed thrill for the whole family. Hundreds of years later, a new branch of the Dragon Park would have its grand opening on Disney Moon itself. In addition, she and Toby would have a son and a daughter, one inheriting the power of communicating with animals, and the other inheriting the power of communicating with magical beasts.
Chance Gallagher. Chance continues his career as a pop star, touring around the world and selling multiple albums. The paparazzi also is a buzz when they spot him spending a lot of time with a certain pink-haired young man. Rumour has it that the Leprechaun star has started dating the brother of celebrity Juan de la Rivera. Him and Roxana also returned to the alternative universe a few times, watching plays about the life and trials of one Commander Shepard. Rox would return with a new piece of memorabilia or yet another oversized N7 t-shirt for herself or her associates.
This is the most important part. Oh my god, Kiwi is so happy right now.
Kiwi will be so happy.
That's awesome.
Alec Chevette. Like Chessa, Alec excels as a curse breaker, continuing to be a formidable partner. He continues to visit his father in Azkaban until Bartholomew's inevitable death. It hits Alec very hard, knowing that in the end, his father never fully redeemed himself and spent his last days in the depressing prison. However, Alec finds comfort in believing, even till the very end, his father did love his children, despite the fact that he had a very sucky way of showing it. Alec and Anastasia would marry, and together they would happily raise 4 kids. 3 from Anna's previous relationship named Alexandria, Josephine, and Joy, and 1 with Alec named Michael.
I got more kids to be an auntie for, yo. There's gonna be kids in On the Rocks every single day.
She's gonna have to change her bar to a daycare.
Literally.
Hell yeah.
No, we don't serve rum. It's only cranberry juice now. Okay.
Ostera Veratu. The Nosferatu twins' cousin decides to quit her work as a spy in order to continue to be there for her daughter, Ximena. She sees this rare opportunity as a second chance, and she intends to not waste a moment of it. It's not always easy, but Ximena appreciates being able to provide a life not only for herself, but also for her symbiotic partner, Penelope Picari, who is a friend of Felix Underwood. As for Nos himself, after being broken free of the Winter Circle prison by Greyback, Nos for a time traveled, following his radical beliefs concerning how werebeasts should be treated. One day, he came face to face and nearly killed his childhood friend and old flame. Opening his eyes to the person and monster he had become, Nos leaves the past behind and lives happily as Victor with Travis in Parts Unknown. Ostera and Juan continues to hang out like old times. This time she sticks around. One could argue it's for her daughter's sake, but there definitely seems to be some sexual tension between her and Juan, at least from her end. She may act all cool and detached, but Juan always had a very special place in her heart, even to this day. It is unknown if anything serious happens between them, but in the meantime, they continue to enjoy the company of their daughter and each other.
They totally bang.
Yeah, I would
Like every day.
at least every so often, right?
At least once.
Yeah. Leia Lionheart, I'm looking forward to this. Leia would lead the Chudley Cannons into their first Quidditch World Cup. That season would be talked about for years as a memorable Cinderella story for the sport. Something that nobody in the Wizarding world thought they'd ever live to see. Although they didn't manage to win the cup, it was still the best game Leia has played in her life, and it gave the Cannons the drive and motivation to continue pushing forward. Leia is still the most important person to Luke. Their bond only gets stronger over time when eventually she gets married. She asks him to walk her down the aisle. It's finally happened. She is officially becoming a Longbottom. After all, Neville's son, that is.
Right.
Dodged the bullet there.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, sorry. She is officially going to become Miss Longbottom. After all, Neville's son, that is. Unbeknownst to Luke, the object Leia decided to use for her wedding as something borrowed was a goldfish that Juan had given the twins back in the day. It was a beachside wedding, and after tossing the bouquet and garter, Leia regales the guests by tossing the goldfish towards the water, yelling out, "Big whale." and a massive whale lands with a crash in the water. The guests were shocked. Luke and Juan were mortified, but the applause and laughter that erupted afterwards was worth it in the bride's eyes.
Oh, I love her. Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Sister, guys.
Emed. Emed's powers return, and he manages to stay out of trouble. Well, for the most part. He is half Shevets after all. Then again, he is also half Aimide. So trouble and mischief is pretty much in his blood. Aika will eventually begin taking Imed on cases with him, training him up to hopefully follow his footsteps as a private investigator as well. One can be sure that his gifts would certainly help with his career path. Imed picks up the family love for cooking too, and one seemingly typical day, he grills a meal for a gathering of all their friends. Juan loves it instantly and goes for seconds. Then he asks Imed what it is. When Imed informs him that it is freshly grilled hippocampus, Juan chokes and almost passes out.
That's not fair. We've agreed to close that lid in history and never open it again.
I could see him shaking his head, like, as I was reading, I'm like, oh, he must have gone to the end. And then I was
It's the greatest love story of this campaign.
Oh, goodness. Augustus Mermont. Augustus is extremely proud that his son has saved the world, not only once, but twice within his lifetime. He will fully retire from the ministry a few years after the Great Magical Reallocation. Augustus spends the rest of his days giving as much or as little advice for Albion as his son allows. When the day comes for Augustus to pass on, Albion will create a scholarship in honor of his father, helping to allow aspiring young leaders to catapult themselves into politics. A portrait of Augustus hangs above Albion's mantle, still giving him advice, whether he wants it or not.
That's kind of sweet in a way.
That's very sweet.
Joe and Hunter Lionheart. Joe was heartbroken to discover how Thaddeus and the rest of his squib kids turned out. He was disappointed in himself for failing his students, especially since they all inadvertently became his new sons and daughters after Levi passed. Joe falls into depression for a while and even ends up abusing alcohol for some time. But fortunately, an intervention occurs and Hunter and Joe cope through the therapy. Hunter knows what it's like to fail his children. The death of Levi still eats away at him to this day. Though Luke still remains relatively distant from his grandparents, Leia does visit them often, bringing them some much-needed joy in their lives. Joe will eventually bounce back and continue teaching at Hogwarts. Hunter will leave Luke and Leia as their heirs to 4 Privet Drive, just as he did with Levi.
Dang, son. Ow. Okay. Natasha Shevets. Natasha discovers overnight success when she launches a brand new show called Next Top Wizard. It is a reality series where wizards and witches compete through fashion, hair, and makeup. Full of drama and Natasha sass. The ratings go through the roof.
Yes.
So proud of her. Oh my god. I'm so happy for her. She does not have kids. She don't have time for that.
No, she doesn't have time for that.
Ana Maria de la Rivera. With magic being distributed throughout all mankind, Orion evolves into a different department. Instead of an agency that tries to expose the magical world to the non-magical, they now recruit agents to continue stopping magical threats to safety and society worldwide. Ana Maria takes over as the leader of Orion, becoming the new Agent Raija.
That's interesting.
Felix Underwood. Although Felix's life was cut tragically short, Levi made sure to take him under his wing to fully enjoy the afterlife together. Felix and Levi played tennis often, while also marveling at the sudden flux in the Star Wars region of heaven that popped up recently. Felix is particularly entertained hearing stories about Luke and Leia's seer abilities from Levi, who continues to watch over his kids from afar throughout their lives. And who knows, maybe one day Levi will take him bowling with Jesus or something.
Heck yes, next Tuesday.
Yes.
Vienna Seppa. With everyone possessing magic, Vienno's studies on allowing magic and electricity to mingle together becomes critically important. After he marries Anira, their combined genius minds will know virtually no bounds. With their inventions, their contributions toward the new magical society earns them both the Nobel Peace Prize as a couple, in addition to the Owl of Merlin second class, an honor that Vienna humbly cannot believe even to this day. All the wizarding scholars that snubbed him in the past must surely be embarrassed now. Take that, Foggy Bottom.
Yeah, suck it, Foggy Bottom.
Celeste Whitewood. After the war, Celeste will continue to fight for the rights of vampires, werewolves, and other magical creatures that continue to face inequality to this day. She will also continue to stay in touch with Albion, and the two of them will become valuable assets for each other in the political arena. Not only that, but Children's fertility potion must have worked, for Celeste and Michael end up willing 2 children, a human muggle boy by the name of Eamon, and a vampire daughter by the name of Nadine.
Michael the Muggle, aka
Michael Brightwood. Michael will continue his work at the newly established Orion Agency, despite the fact that he refused being allocated magic. He proves time and time again you don't need magic in order to achieve success in life. Plus, him remaining a Muggle allows him to channel the full potential of the Taurus Zodia Augmentia, albeit reluctantly, regardless of how warranted it would be. Michael will be there for Joe, or Joey, as he calls him, as he recovers from his depression. And their re-established friendship will play a major role in Joe's ultimate recovery.
Koldov-Starets. Over the years, the Russian Wizarding School of Koldov-Starets was rebuilt to a structure more magnificent than it ever was. Toby would return as professor to teach literature, and many years later, he himself would become the new headmaster of Koldov-Starets. Russia's unique use of full trees for their version of Quidditch will become more widespread, especially in response to the growing popularity of Finn's new trendy Magiball sport.
Mahotokoro. The Japanese Wizarding School continues to excel as one of the most acclaimed for scholastic achievements. Through Albion's influence, Mahotokoro would initiate a new wave of Zodiac games among the newly opened wizarding schools across the globe, starting with all the ones in Asia, and Sensei Hideo Kimura would succeed Katsu Hoshizaki as headmaster of Mahotokoro.
Okay, here I go. I can do this. I can say this name. Woo! Wagadu. Professor Chukwuemeka. That?
Yes, you got it. Chukwuemeka. Yes, you got that.
Professor Chukwuemeka Suberi will succeed Professor Vincent Mwamba as headmaster of Wagadu. As the largest wizarding school in the world, they will aid in opening even more wizarding schools to meet the heavy demands of their new wizards and witch brothers and sisters.
Alright, Castle of Brushu. The Brazilian-based school becomes well acclaimed for their special programs that welcome numerous subspecies of students that previously had minimal opportunities in other schools. Castle of Brushu had hoped such a program would spread to the other schools, and although a few had started adopting them, it was very difficult in the beginning since the sudden flux of young wizards and witches throughout the world left very little room in the schools to include non-human students, even if they wanted to. Instead, Castle of Brushu would open satellite schools specifically geared towards leprechauns, werewolves, merfolk, and other such students. Emma Silva, the divinity teacher, would retire rather abruptly out of the blue, claiming that she has other affairs she must now attend to. Nobody hears from her again after that, and her whereabouts remain a mystery.
I wonder where she is.
She went back to Pokemon, that's what happened.
She went to Dragon Age this time.
Have fun with that, Dragon Age cat.
You guys
Ilvermorny. Cho'Gawn is overall pleased by the great magical reallocation. Though part of him wishes humankind would have been able to make peace with each other even without it, he hopes that with this new change, a repeat of what happened to his people will not repeat itself again. Shogun will remain the healer at Ilvermorny until he eventually becomes the successor to Algebert Fontaine as the new headmaster of the school. He gets frequent visits from the alumni, especially Chance and Skylar.
Hogwarts. 8 grows up to become an entitled and bitter adult who is deeply disgusted by the great magical reallocation. He vows to right this wrong against all those involved, especially one former classmate, Luke Lionheart. Maybe part of it is because Luke killed one of his cousins, 11. Maybe part of it is because his voice never quite fully goes through puberty and remains as high-pitched as it ever was. Regardless, 8 is on the warpath, so they better watch out.
Next villain confirmed. Next big bad confirmed.
Wow, oh my god.
It will be the BBEG.
Yes. Okay. Oh no.
Dobby's nephew, Dippy the house elf, is still slaving away in the kitchens of Hogwarts. Honna continues to mess up Robert's name, and when Paco finally passes on, Honna is determined to continue his legacy by keeping a tight ship in the kitchens, as Paco would be proud.
I can't believe 8's gonna be bad.
And so, all creatures of this new era adapt and evolve to the changes of the world. To say that there will be some growing pains is a deep understatement. But it is an exciting time for everyone, and it is curious to see how this will affect the future generations. For now, our heroes may continue on with their lives, knowing that this is only the beginning, and life will never be boring. Like the stars of a zodiac, they are all connected now, for better or worse. Worldwide, they have sealed the circle of fate.
We did it, guys.
We did it.
We did it.
Act 3?
And no death.
Act 3.
Oh, wait.
Let's go.